Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to another player profile. I'm going to take a look at Angus Brayshaw in a moment. Always exciting when SuperCoach officially opens. I know we've got ways to pick our sides elsewhere in the earlier months, but it is exciting when the official thing drops. So that was good. Hopefully you enjoyed my just sort of spur of the moment, unprepared live video with Langers. That was good to do. Obviously a longer video, but hopefully you enjoyed just the raw discussion of what was a video that was exactly that. Just hit record and we just chatted about it as it sort of unfolded. So hopefully you enjoyed that. But before I get into Brayshaw, I just wanted to put a quick word out to you guys in regards to a couple of YouTube changes that you may or may not be aware of. It mainly affects people who produce content, really, and probably people like myself who aren't your big scale channels. But I think I haven't fully looked into exactly what is required, but I do know the main two dot points that is in regards to the monetization qualification is to have a certain amount of hours watched on your channel in the last however many months, and I'm pretty confident last time I checked that would be no dramas. But the other little one is to have 1,000 subscribers. So just hoping that I can hit that mark, but I think it's Feb 20 to allow me to still monetize my videos. Obviously I'm still going to do them, but you know, getting a bit of coin by doing my videos is nice to get, and it's not the incentive. I mean, I do it because I love SuperCoach and there is a reasonably loyal fan base who always comment away and get reasonable views in my opinion, and I'd like to think it could continue to grow, not just this year but in the future years. But I guess the monetization factor just is a little extra pat on the back and just a little bit of coin. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys have channels out there yourself that you monetize videos, but you know, certainly myself through the pre-season of SuperCoach, I mean, you can get a couple of $100 out of the ad revenue, which is pretty nice. I mean, obviously I'm not retiring and living off YouTube, but it is just, while I do enjoy doing it for the love of it and talking about it, the experience of sort of talking about football topics and just broadcasting in that way is certainly beneficial. I guess just getting a little bit of that financial reward is nice to see, and I was pretty stoked when I first realised you could even do that. And I guess secondly it is, yeah, a little bit of an extra pat on the back. So hopefully if you've got a mate out there who watches my channels but he's not officially subscribed, I think we're on about 9-10, you know, so I'm nearly there. And yes, I'll continue to do them, but I think, you know, a lot of smaller YouTubers, they do all this content and it's off their own bat, and I think they deserve a little bit of financial reimbursement. Of course it's not much, but it is content that everyone out there can consume for free, and I guess that is what makes YouTube so good, that we're not necessarily paying for the content. You just got to put up with a little bit of an ad or 15 seconds here and there, and the person who has created it for you does, you know, get something for it. So I think we all benefit from it. You know, of course I watch plenty of stuff for free as well, and really enjoy plenty of that stuff. So I just wanted to put a quick little word out there. If there is anyone out there who always watches or watches on another platform that isn't officially subscribed, well, you know, there's a slight incentive if you are enjoying it. I know there'd be people out there who, even I've come across channels that I watch regularly and then I go, oh gee, I'm not actually subscribed. So certainly for me, I probably wouldn't be saying this if I was on 500 or 600, but the fact that I'm only 80 or 90 away means that, you know, it's so close, and I think by Feb 20, if you're not hitting those markers, you can't do it. So I'd like to think eventually I'll naturally tick over, but it would be nice to hit it as soon as possible to avoid that sort of cut-off period. So that's enough of the official stuff and a bit of my own junk, but look, hopefully you can get on board in that regard. On to Angus Brayshaw. Now, of course, I did discuss him briefly when me and Langers ran through a bit of my first side. His price at 316k, but what I really enjoy is that we can pick him in the back line. Now, you know my philosophy on the midfield, don't muck around. I'm not really a mid-price sort of guy. Therefore, Brayshaw would not get a look in the midfield, to be honest. The fact that he has those concerns with his body. But the fact is, 316 in the back line, we've lost Doherty, we've lost Williams. The defence is always something that I find difficult to put a lot of faith into guys. You know, at the moment, I'm looking at Yo, Laird, and Jake Lloyd. You know, obviously a couple of those might change, you never know. But to have a fourth bloke who could potentially boost his average up to 90 at a reasonable price is really tempting. And I think that's what Brayshaw could be. Now, of course, the background is the concussions. Now, as a young man, he was highly touted. What was he, number 3 draft pick? Had a really impressive debut season. From memory, he was in the same draft as Petrarca. I think I'm recalling that correct. I didn't check that just before, but I remember the rave was all about Christian Petrarca, and then Brayshaw really was the one who, I guess, adapted to AFL level quicker and the better. Now, since then, which is such as his style as well, you know, he's a contested ball player, which does open you up to more head knocks. He has had a shocking run with that, which did see him miss a significant amount of football last year. In fact, he only played the 5 games, played rounds 1 and 2, then didn't return till round 21. So clearly getting that right is the main thing in not just his career, but in his life, because I know if you have a bad knee or a couple other dodgy parts in your body, it can affect you in a way later in life, and it can be inconvenient. But the concussion stuff can be extremely serious, as we've sort of seen. So that's something that, of course, we're taking super serious these days, and you've got to get it right. And I think there's been numerous occasions where Brayshaw has returned and copped a hit early on, or even first up. I think it was maybe the first contest in one of his return matches, perhaps at VFL level, if the memory serves me correct. So it is something that continues to happen, and of course we know the more it happens, the more likely it is to again happen, and the easier you are to be concussed, and then the terms of the effect seem to last a bit longer, and you've got to take those extra steps of caution upon return. So by all reports, he's going well at the moment and did play the last 3 rounds last year. And that's where the encouragement really lies for me. Now, last year returned round 21 with 26 touches, 10 of those contested, 91 SuperCoach points. Then he backed it up, 17 touches, 83, and then the last round was a 57. Mind you, that's all off about your 65% to 70% game time, clearly just easing him into it. And he was playing a little bit off your half-back line too, and hence we've got him available as a defender. But we all know his best football is as a midfielder, so whether he can find that this season will be interesting to see. I mean, I feel as if they would have just eased him back into football last year just to give him that game time, but not put him in the absolute contest. Yeah, you're going to cop a contest wherever you go on the footy field, but you can limit the amount of times your head has to be directly over the ball with an opponent fighting for that same ball. If you're playing off a half-back flank, you can limit that. So clearly that was their thinking, and by all reports at the moment, I believe he's going well through pre-season. And if he can get his body right and get through pre-season, then I think he could be a really good selection. Now, judging concussion is a very difficult task. You know, Joel Selwood's another guy that when you select him, you've got to think about that as well, because he does cop a lot of head knocks. And these days, if you cop a knock, it's very, very likely that you'll just go off. Whether it's what sort of degree it's at, these days we just play it safe, which is the right thing to do for the actual person, of course. Now, I know we saw Joel Selwood go off early against Fremantle with a bad knock. It can really hurt with these guys who do go off early, because, you know, if you roll your ankle early in the game or you cop a slight niggle somewhere, you can play through it. And while you might not score 100, you score 75, 80, where often the head knock thing, you're clearly going to be put on the bench, assessed, and if it's no good or any doubt, then you stay off. Why do I raise that? Because it is difficult to predict. Now, clearly Brayshaw, that element provides a slight more amount of risk when we go to selecting him, because it's just something that is likely to happen, that he might cop a knock and he might not complete every game and he might not play every game. But predicting if that'll happen is a tough science, and predicting when that'll happen, whether it be season or within a game, well, you'd have to be a genius. Therefore, I think it's definitely worth putting him on the radar, watching his NAB challenge, and if all is going well, I think we've got to take the punt, because, you know, predicting when or if he does cop a knock, we've seen players who are very durable go down early, and you picked them because they were durable and a good scorer, and they burn you. I'm not a big one, unless it is someone who has consistently played 14 to 16, 17 games, year on year on year, and they've got soft tissue issues, things like that. That's when we can have concerns. But for Brayshaw, I think it's going to come down to a bit more misfortune if he is to cop a knock. And there's no predicting when that could happen. If he gets through NAB Challenge, and of course playing midfield, I'm sort of presuming that he'll be playing midfield. I mean, that's what he was picked as, one of the best in his age group as a young man coming through the ranks as a midfielder. That's where I think they'll be putting him, and we'll probably just need clarification on that through the NAB Challenge. But I couldn't see any reason why a fully fit Brayshaw would play off a half-back flank. You know, they've got Hibbard, they've got some rebound out of there. Brayshaw isn't even really the type that I would think would be a great rebounding defender anyway. You know, he doesn't have the intercept mark ability. To my knowledge, kicking and disposal isn't his absolute strong point. His strong point is getting in there, winning his own ball, dishing it out and tackling hard. That's what the Brayshaw blueprint is. So I think if he's fully fit, I couldn't see any reason why he wouldn't be A, in their best 22, and B, rolling through some form of midfield rotation. So I will be extremely tempted by him. Of course, Birchall was another man in that mid-price area of the back line that we were considering, but I think the fact, and I'll preview him at some point, but the fact that he's gone down with a bit of surgery already, while it's only minor, puts him out for most of January. Already you're having slight doubts of an elder statesman whose scoring hasn't been amazing for a while. So therefore, I'd be more inclined to play slightly a little bit more for a man who does have risk, but also a hell of a lot of upside. Extremely promising player. And I think if he can, you know, he'd be wearing the helmet, one would presume. I mean, I'm just guessing, but you would think that would be something he'll wear for the rest of his career. And you'd like to think he can have a long career. Of course, there's the risk and the hope that it doesn't happen, that his career is cut short by concussion. That's a realistic possibility. We hope it never happens, but I think all going well, he has that much upside to score solid 90s. You know, I think we can see 80 to 100 most weeks, and if he is through that midfield and he's fully fit, well, you can dare to dream a little bit. He could really explode as a player. I couldn't see him going three figures, but at 316k, I definitely feel somewhere in the 90s would be possible. I know it's a small sample size from the back end of last year, but it shows what he can do from limited football. You get a pre-season behind him. He's a natural player. He's a star from many, many years ago. He just hasn't been able to get a fair crack at it. So I certainly think he's high on my radar, certainly in the mix for that D4 position, in my opinion, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it as well. So give me your thoughts on Brayshaw and where he's at in terms of your selection and how the whole side's going for you guys. Feel free to comment away and give me any suggestions on which players I should take a look at. I'll look to certainly amp it up through February, of course. Certainly been in a bit of tennis mode the last week or so, as well as a bit of a holiday up north, which was nice. So give me your thoughts, like the video, comment away, and as I said earlier, it'd be great to subscribe if you haven't already. So that'd be much appreciated. I'll catch you guys soon. Cheers.